call it people technology.
インテル入ってる。
Well, that is a serious game of T20 cricket that we've seen in this year's IPL. At the end of it, just one run that could separate the Delhi Capitals and the Royal Challengers actually end up on the right side of it. We look back at that game on Maruti Suzuki Presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Time Out, powered by Intel. Deep Dasgupta and Ian Bishop with me. Before I do go to the cricket itself, just a reminder that these are tough times. So a message to all our viewers, especially in India: mask up in public, follow social distancing and self-sanitizing protocols. And if you are eligible, please do take your vaccines as soon as possible. Right, there'll be plenty of emotion on the field for the Delhi Capitals. Two batsmen who really almost pulled off a heist. Both ended with 50 plus, and yet Delhi Capitals have fallen short. Deep, you've been such a keen follower of the career of Rishabh Pant, the graph of Rishabh Pant. What would he be feeling right now?
Oh, he'll be feeling terrible right now. Because, yeah, I mean, it's kind of an innings where, I mean, he was trying hard, I mean, but every time he hit a good shot, was straight to a fielder. You know, one of those days where you, as a batsman, you don't find the gaps. You're hitting everything to the fielder. I mean, it was a great game though. But definitely, he'll be absolutely shattered.
Yeah, I mean, you thought if all Pant needed was someone to go at the other end, and then you'd have two batsmen going at both ends pitch, but it just didn't come off for Pant, even though Hetmeyer played that blinder.
Yeah, I mean, there are not many times that you're going to say that Rishabh Pant didn't go as quickly as he would need or intended to. And there are days like those. I think there are so many other narratives around the match. Hetmeyer played beautifully. AB de Villiers' innings was critical just at the back end there. And so many other things. Harshal Patel coming back with wickets. Ravindra Jadeja the other day got dropped a note, took 37 of the final over. Shimron Hetmeyer dropped by Padikkal, I think it was, and ended up doing what he did there. Catches are so vital in every form of the game, and we almost saw it cost on two different games.
Yeah, when you have these close, yes, please.
Sorry, the other thing that could have affected the outcome was, I don't know how much the sandstorm helped RCB. It was quite breezy as well, and generally if it's as breezy as that, right through the game, you could see those t-shirts fluttering and all. Generally, then you don't have dew then. Yeah. Right. And one of the main aspects of why you want to chase down in white ball cricket is the dew factor. So maybe, I don't know, it'll be interesting to find out, was there any dew at all in the second half?
No, well, it did look like Simon Katich, when he did that quick two-way on air, did mention that there doesn't seem to be as much dew, or it's not playing as much of a part as it did in yesterday's game, where it was visible that the bowling team was struggling in the second half. But when you get these close games, Bish, you mentioned catches, you tend to look at little things and think what could possibly have been the difference. Yes, you have AB de Villiers playing innings, but that last over by Marcus Stoinis, 23 conceded. You look at overs or moments in the game and you think that's probably where the difference was made.
Yeah, a number of things, Raunak, and you can look at it from different perspectives, right? For example, Deep can look at it from a batsman's perspective, or strategist. I'd look at it from a bowling perspective. But I also want to remind a little bit on the quality of players. Captaincy is brilliant. We had this little joke in our Mute Me before. But you don't captain AB de Villiers to take 23 of that over. Maybe the captaincy was bowling Marcus Stoinis, but you still have to talk about the excellence of AB de Villiers. You still have to talk about the excellence of Shimron Hetmeyer tonight. These are match winners. Jameson's 16th over that went for 5. All of those little things can tilt the balance of a match in favor of one team or the other. And of course, just a reminder about how important catching is. So DC were right up there, 10th over, 15th over, and they just fell short by 1. Had it been another night for Pant, they may have gotten over the line, but excellent game of cricket.
Kohli seems to be looking at, he has a lot of bowling options, and we've discussed this before, Deep. And today, Daniel Sams bowled just 2 overs. Chahal has bowled just 2 overs. That's rare when you see Chahal just bowling 2. Yes, there are 2 left-handers, but this RCB team seems to be gifted with so many bowling options that they can pick and choose, and it looks like that could be the difference. You have Delhi, who had to go to Stoinis in the last over because whatever they did, and RCB seemed to have got things right in the second half.
Oh, absolutely. I think, having the luxury of so many bowling options is also important. And then getting someone like Washington Sundar to bowl 4 overs because he had two left-handers there. So, that worked in his favor. And I think that was good captaincy as well, just to, not going by your norms and following norms and saying, you know what, Chahal is my main bowler, I have to bowl him 4. No, you don't have to. Daniel Sams, you have to bowl him 4. No, so I think credit to him as a captain to have recognized what needs to be done and going with it. And obviously Washington Sundar bowled well. In fact, Herschel also, credit to him after that 37. Bish I'm sure will tell you, it can't be easy coming back after that last over in the last game for Herschel, and he came back again, picked wickets and bowled well.
He's becoming this bowler who's got this knack of just picking up wickets. I don't know if batsmen just fancy themselves against a Harshal Patel, Bish, but he's taking crucial wickets whenever he comes on.
I mentioned him getting wickets tonight. 2 for 37 was a little bit more expensive than he would like, but you can see some redemption there. I think he has a good feel, all his years of experience. You're going to go for runs in this game at certain points. There is no way, shape, or doubt about that. But he seems to have a good feel of what a batsman is trying to do. It was sad that he couldn't hit his straps against Jadeja in that game against CSK. He got full tosses in. But generally, he knows when to take pace off the ball. He has a good feel when to go for his Yorker. And more often than not this season, he's gotten it right. He's missed it against CSK and once or twice tonight. But he's a clever bowler.
All right. Now, that's also a very important innings, you think, personally, for Shimron Hetmyer, Bish.
Yeah, very, very, very. Look, Shimron went through some challenges over the pandemic. Fitness-wise, his fitness probably still isn't where it needs to be. It does not take away from his batting prowess, but he was left out of the West Indies squads in the Caribbean because of a lack of adequate fitness. So this IPL is significant for him to remind everyone that he has what it takes, but he needs to, I suppose, maximize his game. So I'm happy he's there with Ricky Ponting, who is a hard taskmaster. He doesn't settle for mediocrity. He's around Rishabh Pant, who played in the Under-19 World Cup with him, Avish Khan, and all those guys. So I'm hoping that drives him on to maximize everything, Raunak and Deep. Not just that he can bat, but if you're mentally focused and you're physically at your best, you can do so much more. Not just be good, but be great.
Deep, also, this role that he's been given as well to bat 5-6, not what sort of Hetmyer would prefer. You think if you ask him where he'd like to bat, and if you think Delhi would have to decide on just changing the balance of their overseas going forward, you think it was always going to be Smith or Hetmyer, one of the two that they'd have to make way. This suddenly just changes the way you look at Hetmyer for the rest of the season, I guess.
Listen, I'll be honest, and I think we've had this discussion before. I'll pick Hetmyer over any other batsman in that in that squad, because as Bish mentioned, he's a match winner. I don't know what mental space he's in right now, or what are the other issues. Obviously, if you have to be part of that dressing to understand. But just for his cricketing abilities, his skill set, he's a match winner. Chances are he'll come off 1 and 4, but the one that he comes off, more often than not, he's going to win you games. And you need somebody like that coming for you and batting at that 4, 5, 6 in that slot. At this, especially in this format, what you're looking for are these impact players. Yes, you need other players as well who will give you that consistency. But you also need players like Hetmyer who will win you games out of nowhere. To be honest, if Hetmyer hadn't played that knock, DC wouldn't be anywhere close to that target. So you need impact players like that, and you need to encourage players like that. You want them to be consistent, but not at the cost of, taking the edge off their skill set, or not going hard, or I wouldn't want to do that. I still would encourage him to bat the way he does, even if it means he's not as consistent as you would want him to be.
This is also a bit of a lesson. Yes, but you got a thought there, or should I carry on?
Sorry, I just wanted, because my stream is a little bit slower than most of
No,
Deep
please.
has the executive suite across there. I want to lean on Deep's knowledge where this is concerned, because he understands this a little bit more. Shimron Hetmyer actually bats at 3. You go back to his under 19 days, he bats at 3 when he captained the West Indies. In the CPL in the Caribbean, he batted 3. And at times in first class cricket has opened the batting. So he's that type of versatile player that sometimes I wonder if guys like that, you can give them even more responsibility as you go along, or do you just sort of keep them in that niche? Because I've seen him open and bat at 3 with success, but he can also come and do what he did.
True, and I saw him getting that 100 last CPL, coming at 3, if I'm not wrong. He was batting at 3 last
Correct.
CPL and
Correct.
100. And I mean, that was a low-scoring CPL right through, except that particular match, I believe. But what you're saying is, I mean, I would encourage him to come and bat at 3 and play, because he still is very young to. I mean, he's not a finished product, is how I see it, right? There is a lot that we're going to see in the future of him. So he's too young to be put into a niche right now. I think you still need to encourage him to play the way he is, but take a little more responsibility. For example, I think Rishabh is a great example. A year and a half ago, Rishabh has not changed his game, but he's become wiser, he's become more matured. And that's what you want someone like Hetmyer to be as well. With experience, with responsibility, you be more mature, but you don't want him to shackle him. And at times I fear for these naturally instinctive players is when you start putting too much pressure on them, would they take it and change their game? Because they are very, I mean, these impact players are very rare. You'll find a lot of people with a lot of consistency and all, but these impact players, you don't want to take that shine away from them and say, you know what, I want you to be more consistent. Yes, you give them more responsibility and see how it goes. And he's too young to be put into a niche or a box and say, oh, Hetmyer is like this. He's what, 23, 24? I mean, his career has just begun.
Okay.
All right, brilliant. Maybe one last word on the bowling itself. Collectively, does look like the best ball at times to go to is the Yorker bish. Good old Yorker. Everyone tried it, and more often than not, that seemed to have a big impact on limiting Pant's ability to get boundaries or Delhi's ability to get boundaries.
Yeah, I like its return. There was a bit of it in the UAE last year at times. We're seeing it again this season, and there's no doubt the wheels will turn again at some point. But for now, for example, when I went back to the KKR CSK match at the Wankhede, I thought that KKR could have gone death bowling a little bit earlier. They didn't. They ended up sort of getting very close. So I still think one player told me a couple of days ago, he said it's a hard sell. I won't call his name, but he said it's a hard sell getting his teammates to use the Yorker more often. And that's what it's a sell. He has to sell it to them. Some guys have been buying into it over the last 12 months, but it still takes a bit of a selling to a wider group of guys.
All right. Thank you very much, Ian Bishop, Deep Dasgupta. Cracking game to discuss. We'll be back with plenty more for the two of you. Enjoy your game at the Firoz Shah Kotla tomorrow and after. And of course, I hope all of you remain safe as much as our viewers do as well. In India in particular, do mask up in public, follow social distancing, self-sanitizing protocols. If you are eligible, do take your vaccine as soon as possible. We're going to have a lot more on Maruti Suzuki Presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Time Out as the halfway stage approaches of the IPL 2021. There's also the Intel Fastest Fan First contest that continues to run. So head over to the ESPN Cricket for Facebook page if you would like to just answer a few keen questions on the IPL and win some great prizes. So that's your destination, the Facebook page for ESPN Cricket Fun. If you do miss any of the action and you're enjoying the IPL 2021 coverage, do catch all Vivo IPL highlights and live action on Disney Plus Hotstar. We'll be back for tomorrow's game from Delhi, 7 p.m. just after the toss, Indian Standard Time. So do join us then. Until then, from all of us, it's good night.
We call it people technology.
インテル入ってる。